Guten Tag alle, Herr Wallace hier. Heute wollte ich ein bisschen über possessive Pronomen sprechen. Today we're going to talk a little bit about possessive pronouns in German, and we're going to use these along with the dative pronouns to be able to express that something is hurting in German using the dative verb wehtun. So first, let's review the possessive pronouns in English and in German. So in English we say mein, German they say mein, but it's same essential sound but spelled differently. Yours, dein, that's the informal you. His would be sein. Hers is ihr. Ours is unser. And then you alls or y'alls, euer. And the formal you in German is the possessive pronoun for that is ihr. And for theirs, it's also ihr. So let's look at the dative pronouns to be sure that we understand those before we get too far along. For the first person, ich, it's mir. Informal you, dir. Ihm for him. Ihr for her. Don't get this confused with the possessive pronoun. And then for it can be any one of these depending on what you're referring to. Uns, us, and euch, y'all. And then ihnen for them, and ihnen for you, polite. Okay, so remember when you're using these possessive pronouns and it's the subject of the sentence, so it's nominative or nominative case, die words will have an ending, so it'll be meine Hand, and das and der words will just be the possessive pronoun by itself. In this case, mein Bein and mein Kopf. When used in the accusative, the masculine nouns will change to meinen, and die words or feminine nouns will be meine, and neuter words or das words will be mein. Finally, when used in the dative, the die words will change. The possessive pronoun will have an er on it for die words, so it'd be meine Hand, mit meinem Bein, oder mit meinem Kopf. Okay. So one other thing to remember, if you want to indicate that it's your left arm or your right arm, you're going to use, you'll recall probably links and rechts as directions. You're going to use these, but you're going to drop the S. And they'll take endings just like any other adjective would in German. So for example, if you want to say my left foot hurts, you'd say mein linker Fuß tut mir weh. Actually, by saying mein linker Fuß tut mir weh, you're kind of emphasizing that it hurts you. So this would probably be better accurately translated, my left foot hurts me. Okay, my right leg is hurting, so Bein is a das word, so we're going to put that es onto the end of recht. So it's going to be my rechtes Bein tut mir weh. My right leg is hurting me. Okay? And of course, just like we just talked about, you're going to need to know these possessive pronouns. Okay, so if you want to say I have a cold in German, it's ich habe eine Erkältung. But now if we're going to indicate his foot is hurting him, now we need to use a possessive pronoun. And one other note, the Germans have a verb, reflexive verb, sich erkälten, which means that you are catching cold. You're also catching cold. So it's another way to express that you're getting a cold. You can say, for this one, sein Fuß tut ihm weh. This means his foot is hurting him. And the reason we're using ihm here is because wehtun is a dative verb. And sein Fuß, his foot. Ihr Bein tut ihr weh. Her leg is hurting her. Bein is a das word, so we don't have to do anything with the possessive pronoun here because it's the subject of the sentence. And then ihre Beine, their legs, and since legs is plural, we have to change the conjugation of our verb, so it's no longer tut, but now it's tun. And then the dative object for them is ihnen and weh. So ihre Beine tun ihnen weh. And then my chest is hurting me would be meine Brust tut mir weh. Okay, so let's do a few of these real quick also. If you want to say what hurts in German, you can say was tut weh, what hurts. If you want to say what's hurting you, be more specific and add the you. You can say was tut dir weh, or if you want to be formal, was tut ihnen weh. Now to express his hand hurts in German, it's going to be seine Hand tut weh. But if we want to emphasize that it's hurting him, it would probably be better to more accurate to say seine Hand tut ihm weh. Same with her hand hurts. Ihre Hand tut weh. We're putting an E on this because Hand is a feminine noun. And ihre Hand tut ihr weh. Her hand is hurting her. Their arms are hurting them. So again, we're using a plural noun here, Arme. So ihre Arme tun ihnen weh. By the way, in German, when a noun becomes plural, it is always a D word. So regardless of what it started off as. For example, der Arm, die Arme. Okay, your head hurts. Dein Kopf tut weh. Or if we want to emphasize it's hurting you, dein Kopf tut dir weh. Okay. And ihr Fuß, if we're using the polite you, ihr Fuß tut weh. Ihr Fuß tut ihnen weh. Your foot is hurting you. Okay. A few more examples. Here we have questions. So in German, word order is when it's a question, we want to start with the verb. Even if there is no question word involved. So in this case, is your hand hurting is tut deine Hand weh. And if we want to emphasize that is your hand hurting you, it'd be tut dir deine Hand weh. Is her hand hurting her? Tut ihr Hand weh? Is her hand hurting is her hand hurting her? Tut ihr ihre Hand weh? And is his head hurting? Tut sein Kopf weh? Is his head hurting him? Tut ihm sein Kopf weh? And then our last example here, tun ihre Beine weh? Tun ihnen ihre Beine weh? Okay? So when it comes to expressing that something is hurting in German, so we've learned these two ways. We just went over those. But I'm going to show you another way to say that, for example, his head is hurting him. And that's to use the dative pronoun at the beginning. So you can say in German, ihm tut der Kopf weh. And it means him, basically, the head is hurting. If you want to think of it that. It's a very strange construction for us in English to make, but very natural in German. Okay, so using this method, you begin with the dative pronoun, and the noun is the subject of the sentence, therefore it's nominative case. That's why it's der Kopf and it didn't change. Okay, let's try this example. Try using this method with a few examples. Her hand is hurting her, so ihr tut die Hand weh. His foot is hurting him, ihm tut der Fuß weh. Their arms are hurting them, ihnen tun die Arme weh. My leg is hurting me, mir tut das Bein weh. Your nose is hurting you, dir tut die Nase weh. So, das war's. Ich hoffe, dass es ein bisschen hilfreich war und dass das eine gute Erklärung war. So, I thank you for listening and I hope that was a good lesson for you. Vielen Dank und auf Wiedersehen.